There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if you're having pizza. Those creamy, zesty, Cool Ranch flavors take each cheesy, melty bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we continue our season snapshot series with the Phoenix Mercury. The X Factor is on deck, and we're going to get into all the significant changes that they made. But before we get into too much detail, Kristen, how are you?
Hello, John. I'm good. We have a lot to talk about today because although you listeners have been hearing from us the past, every other day, the past week, we have not been here recording for a while. And lots has happened in terms of injuries, etc. So we have a lot to discuss, and I'm ready.
Yes, I have been excited to do this pod because I think the Mercury are such an interesting team to think about from a team makeup standpoint. So I'm excited to get into that. But before we do, if you would like to send us an email and reach out, you can do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or you can also connect with us on Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. I'd like to thank all of the comments we've been getting on the Spotify. We've got a ton of Spotify comments, so please continue to get in the comments and tell us what you like or what you don't like about our decisions that we made on some of these starting fives. There's been a lot of good insight and things that I didn't think about, so I appreciate all those listeners that have been over there. And a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening helps us grow the show, get out to more listeners. It's exciting times because the W season is right around the corner. Even as we're recording this, tomorrow there will be WNBA preseason games. And, as you're listening to this, there already have been WNBA preseason games. So we are very much looking forward to having watched at this point Wings Aces and the Brazilian national team taking on Chicago. And there'll be more games after you're listening to this on Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and it'll be great.
Yes, and it should be easy to watch every single game. For the first time, every WNBA preseason game will be available via national broadcast or through online streaming, which is a big change from last year and every other year in the past. Because last year, I remember when we were first starting to watch these preseason games, Twitter was up in arms that it was so hard to watch some preseason games.
I thought the same thing.
And because last year they weren't ready for this extreme growth
right
last year.
Right.
But here we are. They made the change. So everyone that was complaining last year should be happy that this year you should be able to watch every single game if you want to. And 4 preseason games are going to be nationally televised, whereas there's only been 1 nationally televised preseason game ever in the past.
Wow. Ever? Do you have data about what that is?
I do. It was the Liberty versus the Chinese national team in 2019.
Really? That's kind of random. But look at that. Look at that. Look at the power.
At least by ESPN. This is what ESPN is telling me.
Sure. Yes. But look at the power of like increased viewership and actually saying like, we want to see more of these games. It helped get it done. Like I was thinking the same thing as you were going over this. We were complaining about it as we started this podcast, and now it has already changed, and should stay that way. It should stay this way for the foreseeable future, which is great for the league. So now you can start watching from day one, and by the time the season rolls around, you'll have been able to see a lot of these players and a lot of these team makeups for the first time, and you'll know what you're getting, and you won't be shocked when you see some of these players playing together for the first time. So, wonderful news on that. Let's talk about injuries because you teed it up for us at the beginning. 4 significant injuries I would like to discuss. I would say, so we'll start with Aubrey Griffin. She was drafted in the 3rd round by the Minnesota Lynx. She was a player on the UConn national championship team, just won a title. So there was a lot of excitement when she was drafted after Caitlin Chen and after Paige, of course. But looks like the start to her WNBA career is not going to take off this season because she's out with a significant surgery for an injury that she likely had going into the draft. So kind of a bummer of a note, but she wasn't a player that we necessarily had slated to make a very deep Minnesota roster. So it was unlikely that she would have a crack in the W this season anyway, but it's just kind of a bummer to start your first, you get selected and then you got to go have a really significant surgery.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of a shame. Next, let's talk about Georgia Amor. What do you have to say? This was like the biggest bummer of the last few days for me.
Yeah, just out of the blue, Georgia Amor was reported that she had a UCLA. That's what I was going to say.
Yes, the UCLA injury.
What is it?
ACL.
Okay. An ACL injury. And we weren't sure, does that mean it's fully torn?
Right.
Does that mean she's going to, she needs surgery? She's going to be out? We believe so. She has an ACL tear, needs surgery, will be out.
They haven't actually said that she'll need surgery, but they have confirmed that she will be out for the season. So basically without saying it, you can assume that she tore it and that there's a surgery needed. It's very rare that there's a sprain in the ACL. I've seen it maybe a couple of times in the NBA. A sprained UCLA. Kristen's smiling over here.
I'm laughing still.
But really a bummer. I was so high on Georgia Amor. We just talked about the Mystics, a week ago our time. But I was very confident that she was going to start and she was going to be very good for that team. And I'll stand by that. And she'll come back in 2026 and hopefully have that opportunity with whatever that team looks like. Could be,
right?
even more different.
There you go for Jade Melvin. She's about to be the starting point guard. Because, Julie Von Lowe's gone.
Yep. All signs point to Jade. So we'll see what that means for the Mystics, but just a bummer and a setback for them. An potentially exciting young team. Next, let's continue with the Mystics and talk about Aaliyah Edwards, who is a player who is also dealing with an injury, a lower back injury in this case. And it was just reported today on the 1st of May that she'll miss likely 2 weeks plus because they're going to have to reevaluate her. Good chance she misses the start of the season, which, clears runway for Steph Dolson to start where she expects to start, or also clears a lot of minutes for Kiki Iriafen to start the season. So a bummer with how much we talked about Aaliyah Edwards in the unrivaled offseason. She was so good, and she is very likely to take a leap this season, but it'll be a bit of a slow start for Miss Edwards. Kind of a bummer, right?
Yeah, that's a big bummer for me, but we just hope that it's nothing too serious.
Correct. Back injuries for bigs especially can be scary. You know, I would hope that that's not something lingering, and I hope that the Mystics, the Mystics training group, what's the word I'm looking for? The Mystics health staff.
Training staff.
That's what I'm going for. I would hope that they have a plan in place to make sure that Aaliyah is not dealing with something all season, and that she can be ready to get back on the court at full health. And lastly, another one that hit our timeline today, Meg Gustafson, a favorite of us. Obviously, Pancake, her dog, made the final two of our bracket, the dogs of the W. Meg Gustafson out for the season, out indefinitely. I shouldn't say for the season, out indefinitely with a lower leg injury, which is also scary. Could be an ankle, could be a UCLA. I mean, you would expect a knee, but that is tough. That's tough for this Aces team, which have to operate so tightly on the margins. I mean, we haven't talked about the Aces yet, but when we talk about them, this will be very important in how they structure the rest of their team, because they are right up on that salary cap, and they really don't have a lot of moves. And between her injury and what we expect to be a contract for Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, I don't really know what they're going to do, what they're going to pull.
Yeah. Well, stay on your toes for the Aces, which are coming soon.
Yeah, right around the corner. Okay. So that was a little bit of a lengthy news segment, but had to get there because we haven't been here for a while. So let's talk about the Phoenix Mercury. The Phoenix Mercury finished 7th last season with a record of 19-21. They were under 500, and they were the 7th seed.
Right there.
If you asked me what their record was, I would not have guessed that they were under 500.
I would say it was 500.
In my mind, they were like 22-18, but they were like a whole 3 games lower than that.
Yeah, they kind of fell off at the end.
Yes. Yeah. But as we've been saying throughout this series, a very significantly different team. And I would say maybe in the most case, the Mercury are the biggest change team. Because let's look at the departures. Do you want to?
I don't think they're the biggest changed team. I think the Sun are the biggest changed team, but this is probably second.
Sure. Let's say biggest change team that still intends to compete for a championship.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you want to do departures?
Sure. So departures, big name departures.
Yes.
Diana Taurasi has retired.
Despite what we said on bingo.
Yep, unfortunately. Brittany Griner has gone to the Dream. Natasha Cloud, Sophie Cunningham, Rebecca Allen all have left. Makia, Herbert Harrigan, Charisma Osborne, and Mo Billings.
Yeah.
That's a whole team.
Right. A whole team of quality starter level players, role players, and depth pieces. All gone. And then you look at it, and I should say, Charisma Osborne's on this list. She has not signed a contract yet. She's doing what Charisma wants to do. So theoretically, she could be in an ecosystem. She could come back, but right now she's not with the team. And then you look at the arrivals, significant arrivals. Major trades brought in Satou Sabally, Alyssa Thomas, and Kalani Brown. In free agency, they signed Sammy Whitcomb and Kahleah Copper. And then they have literally 15 training camp contracts, like a ton of training camp contracts, 14, I think, if I'm counting correctly, and some names that we'll recognize. Tamira Poindexter was a player that was really strong in this year's college tournament. She played for Kansas State. She's on a training camp contract. Natasha Mack, Celeste Taylor, Sev Uzin, players that are rotational level WNBA players. Natasha Mack, we should say, a player that was with the team last season. Celeste Taylor as well, played in the playoffs.
And correct me if I'm wrong, John. The Mercury did not have a draft pick in this draft.
The Mercury had 0 draft picks in this draft.
That's wild.
Which is why a player like Tamira Poindexter is here on a training camp contract, because she went undrafted. But what I expected after the draft for this Mercury team was that, you know, some of the best players that didn't get drafted, and, you know, the talent level gets pretty diluted after 38 picks are made in the draft. But Poindexter is a player that I would have expected to be drafted. So that's why her name jumps out on the list. And another name that'll jump out on the list, which I'll say right off the top, Megan McConnell, the sister of TJ McConnell. If you're unfamiliar with TJ McConnell, scrappy guard that played for our Sixers years ago at this point. He's been with Indiana. He helped the Pacers win their first round matchup against the Bucks just the other day. So he is like one of my favorite basketball players of all time. Plays with maybe the most heart of anybody that I'd seen, and he's good and he's automatic. If Megan is anything like TJ, then she should have a shot at sticking in the W. So I just want to point her out, because I've even seen her in some of their social media posts, and I said, there she is. There's Meg. Let's go. So don't get ahead of it. But
well, we know who John's rooting for.
Correct. So if we look at the projected starting 5, well, if we start with the players that are under guaranteed contracts.
Yep.
We have Kahleah Copper, who's being paid a significant amount of money. She's top of the market money for a player of dynamic offense. Satou Sabally, completely guaranteed. Alyssa Thomas, Kalani Brown, and Kahleah are under guarantees.
I don't know who Kahleah is.
I actually learned this today. She was with the Storm, and then she was waived by the Storm, and then picked up by the Mercury, which is why she has a guarantee. She's on the end of her rookie contract. She was drafted in 2020. I believe she was the 11th overall pick in the first round of 2020. And she's a Euro player. I believe she's from Latvia. And I don't know, she's 28. She hasn't really, actually, you know what? Because I looked into her today, she has not played a game in the W.
Okay. Has
not played a regulation game, I should say. She may have played a preseason game. But according to Basketball Reference, she has no stats. So she's just kind of here on an $80,000, you know, protected contract. Like I said, end of rookie contract. So given the state of the team, I would expect her to be one of the handful that makes it through.
I mean, they need bodies.
They do. They do need bodies.
Okay, so do we want to go through the starting lineup? Our projected starting lineup.
Sure. Yeah, let's look at it.
You can probably guess it. It's Sammy Whitcomb, Kahleah Copper, Alyssa Thomas, Satou Sabally, and Kalani Brown.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The HBO original series The Last of Us is back for a new season, and so is the official The Last of Us podcast. 5 years after the events of the first season, Joel and Ellie are drawn into conflict with each other and a world even more dangerous than the one they left behind. Join host Troy Baker, who voiced Joel in the video game, and showrunners Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann as they unpack each episode after it airs. Listen to HBO's The Last of Us podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and stream HBO's The Last of Us on Max.
There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if wings are on the menu. Those creamy, zesty Cool Ranch flavors take each spicy, savory bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.
Surprise bill? Need fast funds? CashNet USA can help. When you need money fast, be the hero.
Apply in minutes at cashnetusa.com and get a fast decision. All loans subject to lender approval. Speed of funding is subject to verifications and your bank's processing times.
Right. Which, on paper, fine. Good. We should not understate. Alyssa Thomas is probably, besides Asia Wilson, obviously, besides Caitlin Clark, obviously, she's probably a top 3 to 5 floor raiser in the entire league. She can do everything. And as, friend of the pod, Laura, has told us in chat, she will be expected to do everything. She'll be expected to be a point guard.
I have quote.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. You have the
From
quote.
Nate Tibbetts. He says, AT has been probably traditionally a 4, but she's going to be a point guard here. She's going to be a forward. She's going to be a 5. We talked about positionless last year, but it's going to probably look a lot more like that this year.
Yes. So even though we have Sammy Whitcomb penciled in for the starting point guard, we should not be surprised if Alyssa Thomas is the one bringing the ball up and operating at the top of the key.
No, she does that a lot.
Yeah, right.
She did that in Unrivaled.
Well, because she's like one of the few passers, the few, double-digit assist caliber players in the W. One of the handful of players in the league that has a triple-double, that has multiple triple-doubles.
She has the most triple-doubles of anyone in the league.
Correct. Right. Hopefully a stat that she can hold on to for a little bit longer, and maybe something that she could get back to this season, honestly, because of the way things are situated. If she is going to be operating, as the point guard, then I expect her to have, a high assist total season. If you'll give me a second, I want to look up how many assists she had last year, but if you have more to talk about on AT.
No, I think AT in general, the positionless idea, I think, does work for this team. AT can play any position. Satou Sabally, known as the unicorn, theoretically can play every position.
At least 3, 4, 5, and she can shoot. So
right. I think Kahleah Copper has done a lot in the past, and this year is going to be also a lot for her, but she can live up to it. So yeah, all these middle people are capable of shifting around.
Right. Yeah. So I was actually surprised. Alyssa Thomas averaged 7.9 assists per game last year in Connecticut. I mean,
well,
it was the same number in 2023 as well, or in 2023. So, I mean, it is tough to go up past that, but I could see her pushing into 8.5.
When you have many other players on your team who can shoot, I
it's
think
helpful.
it can go past that.
Right.
Like,
so I hope they can shoot.
Correct me if I'm wrong again, but I feel like AT was a primary scorer on the Sun last year.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, one of the well, you know what? You'd think that just off of the idea, but she only averaged 10 points a game last year.
The Sun didn't average many points.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Bree Jones was scoring and Dewana was. They were probably more of the primary scorers.
Yeah, sure.
But she's a capable scorer. I don't want to take anything away from her, but she was down 5 points on average.
Yeah, that's
from
a lot.
the season before to last season.
Sure.
So I would expect an increase on scoring just because out of necessity, she's going to need to score.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also, expect an increase on assists potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But the load is going to be so heavy on her that I just hope that, one, she stays healthy.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And two, that she doesn't feel so much of a need to like fight for rebounds. Like obviously she can get a rebound, but like I think she's going to need to pick and choose where she can take her foot off the gas because she can't go 100 because there's just not like as much quality depth there behind her. She's so important and is expected to play at so many different spots that like she's probably going to be pushing for the highest minutes played by a player. And she's, not young. She's not a spring chicken anymore.
Mm-mm. We know that she is injured. She plays through injury. She has 2 torn labrums.
Right.
That she hasn't gotten surgery on. She just plays through it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, something could happen there where that is exacerbated.
Yeah.
She was hurt in Unrivaled for a while. And all of that information was not made very clear. So we're not really 100% confident what was hurt, how long she was hurt for, if she's 100% better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's definitely a risk. Injury.
Yeah. It certainly is. Let's fill out the rest of the roster here with what we kind of expect to make the 12. So I have Celeste Taylor, Sev Uzin, and Megan McConnell in backup guard roles with this team. Again, Megan McConnell, she's highlighted in yellow. I would just hope that if she's anything like her brother, then she would know how to make a team as an undrafted player. So we'll see what that goes on there. But that's a 5 guard rotation, which is plenty appropriate. And then we have Kahleah Copper, Tamira Poindexter, and we have Catherine Westbeld, the older sister of Maddie Westbeld, who was just drafted this past season, as a backup 4 for this team. And then we also have Natasha Mack penciled in as backup center. Natasha Mack, one of the smaller players in the league that can play center. Natasha Mack, capable of getting a rebound. Natasha Mack, a player that I think they, if Nate Tibbetts is really going to invest in a positionless game, she could be a reliable defender and rebounder. Don't really trust her, as an offensive player, but it's hard to expect that the offensive juice would be out of the hands of AT and Ka and Satou. They should be scoring 75% of the team's points, which is hopefully a lot because, Sev Uzin, we like Sev Uzin.
Yeah, I like Sev Uzin. She's a very solid backup guard. I love Sammy Whitcomb.
Yes.
Sammy Whitcomb was on my fantasy team last year.
She was, and she wasn't, and she was, and she wasn't, and she was, and she wasn't.
Yeah,
she was on my fantasy team, and she wasn't.
We kept dropping and picking up Sammy Whitcomb, but she got me points. So
Correct.
I mean, I root for Sammy. I think she can be good as a backup scoring person on this team.
Yeah,
I do. I think a lot of pressure is going to be on Kahleah Copper.
A ton.
She is the face of this team now.
Right.
One of essentially the only player that's carrying over from last year.
Right. Right, Natasha Mack. Based on our roster, her and Natasha Mack.
Right, that's it. Like, she's the only starter that's carrying over. So she is going to have a lot of the team's culture, chemistry, like, on her back.
Right.
And I think...
And it's only her second season in Phoenix, too.
Right.
So, like, has she set herself as the team leader yet?
I think she has. I think she's lived up to a lot of it in the press conferences. She does seem like a leader in my eyes.
I would agree.
How she carries herself. And I do think she has the skills capable of leading the team. She's won a championship in the past with the Sky. In 2021, she was the finals MVP on that team. So she's definitely capable of, building up the team.
Right.
I think it will just be very hard because the team has absolutely no depth whatsoever.
Correct. I'm not going to bet against a girl from North Philly. Period. It's where we are from. It's where we live. And she, is a player that is unabashedly Philly. She's so tough. And, if anyone can lead a team, and take a massive leap forward offensively, it's a player like Ka. She averaged 21.1 points last year, which was up 2.5 points from the previous season. She's going to need to be like 24 points per game. She's going to need to take a leap.
Yeah.
And she's already a top 15 player. That's pretty close to top 10, closer to top 10 than top 15. So Ka, it's like all you. Like, AT is the engine. You got to be the, I don't know.
She has to be like the energy.
You got to be, yeah. Yep. Yep.
She
You
has
got
to
to
be
be
the gas.
the gas.
That goes through the engine.
There you go.
And then they're powering
The
the
fuel.
unicorn of Satou.
Yes. It's a big mechanical unicorn with a Alyssa Thomas engine and copper fuel. There's copper coils in there or something. Oh, it's like a copper unicorn. That's pretty crazy. And then Kalani Brown is riding it.
Okay.
Who we haven't mentioned, but like good young center, good to build around, a player that could improve.
Yes,
significantly.
I hope to see that she improves. I think she was fine last year. On the wings?
Yes.
There were many other bigs on the wings last year that I kind of got lost with. So hopefully she can take the place of one Brittany Griner, which will be difficult.
Yep.
But I think she can.
She could be
work
capable
up
of
to it. She can.
Okay, so strengths and weaknesses.
Well, let me first say this little bit I'm reading about Nate Tibbetts.
Oh, you got more Nate Tibbetts facts.
The second-year coach of the Mercury. So he's been the coach for 2 years, coming off of an assistant coach with the Portland Trail Blazers, whatever. He is the highest paid coach in the W.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. For a team that replaces coaches pretty constantly. We learned that in our defunct series that a lot of these players that we talked about on these old defunct teams end up somehow being head coach of the Mercury.
For 2 seasons.
1 season.
Right. So, yeah, for this team that's like historically moving through coaches, they apparently pay them very well. So, all right.
It's the X factor.
That's something for Nate Tibbetts. He said in a press conference last year that he wanted the Mercury to shoot at least 35 threes per night.
Okay.
Last year.
Okay.
They shot 26.
35 threes is a lot in 40 minutes. It's a lot in 40 minutes.
Yeah, but that was his plan.
I think it's a fairly okay plan.
Well, they were like 9 under.
Right, 9 under the number that he wanted.
How do you think that will play out this year?
Well,
you think they will?
Alyssa Thomas won't be shooting threes.
0.
Kalani Brown will not be shooting threes.
0.
Sammy Whitcomb can shoot. on decent volume. Ka is going to have to shoot more than 6 threes a game, which was her average last season. I checked that. Satou can shoot threes. I wouldn't expect her to shoot more than 3 maybe a game. And then Celeste Taylor, Sevuzin, Laxa, you're going to have to park yourself in the corner and you're going to have to knock down threes.
Yeah.
Because that is going to be the game plan.
So basically, Ka is going to have to shoot 35 threes a game, is what I'm seeing.
I think she could get to 8.
Okay.
Not too many. There's
No,
not too
she
many
could.
W players that shoot more than 7.5.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So you want to move into strengths and weaknesses. I think it's a strength that this coach has. That's what he wants to happen. That's his goal. We
Sure.
shoot a lot of threes.
Sure. A modern-minded coach. Yes.
Sure.
Is a strength.
But I don't think that he has the pieces to accomplish that whatsoever.
Well, positionless basketball, he can come up with something else.
Sure.
We'll see. I would say a strength on my end that I see with this team is Alyssa Thomas. Just
Period.
I started with her. I think she has one of the highest basketball IQs in the league.
I never announced this, I don't think, that I got an Alyssa Thomas jersey from Unrivaled.
Very true.
My Laces jersey, Alyssa Thomas.
Yes.
So we love Alyssa Thomas around here.
Correct. In this house, we love Alyssa Thomas. And like I said, extremely, extremely high basketball IQ. If there's any player that I would be confident in finding a way to win games, Alyssa Thomas is up there with anybody else. So I think she's going to be creative and she's going to use her, her vision to find the open shooter, and they just need to make shots. They're just going to need to make shots. They're going to take them and make them. It's how good can they make it? They should all be practicing 300 corner threes every single day because that's what they're going to need to do.
Yeah.
Alyssa Thomas is going to drive. She's going to kick. They're going to make it or they're going to miss it, and it's going to be
She's
terrible.
going to have to pass out, and
Correct.
someone's going to have to shoot it.
And when Satou wants to go in the post, then they let Satou go in the post. And when they want Ka to go ISO, then Ka goes ISO. But Alyssa Thomas can take care of business. Just make the shots off of her passes. Weakness, depth. We don't have to say anything more about that.
Yeah. And perhaps defense.
Yeah. I'm not sold on Satou as a defender.
No, and I don't think Kalani Brown or Alyssa Thomas are particularly quick
No.
defensively.
But AT's a good defender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying she's not fast running down the court,
Sure.
which is fine. She's older. That's fine. That's not what she does.
Right.
But Ka, again, Kahleah Copper is going to have to be so good on defense.
Yeah. Yep. A player that I wouldn't necessarily think about in the defensive set. I don't know exactly what her defensive capabilities are because we only have one season watching her under our belt. But I believe in Ka.
Okay.
The Phoenix Mercury. There are 13 teams in the league. I had the Phoenix Mercury ranked in a certain spot, and I have changed them.
What?
I did, because I'm allowed to.
So did you change anyone else?
Yeah, I swapped 2.
Another one that we haven't talked about.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Correct.
Because you can't change
Well, because
it
we
after
haven't
we
talked.
say.
Nope, and I wouldn't.
Okay, good.
But it was an appropriate enough move to make.
Fine.
I have the Phoenix Mercury as the 8 seed this season.
Okay.
And you?
I have them in the 7 seed.
Okay. So I had the Sparks at 7. You had the Sparks at 8. I had the Mercury at 8. You have the Mercury at 7. So there's the flip-flop there. I had them, topping out at the 6 seed. I was very optimistic, and then I slowly became beat down by the friend of the pod Laura's anguish about how the team has nothing, which I don't necessarily fully agree with, but they certainly don't have as much as it seemed.
Yeah.
They're going to need to hit on some of these random training camp contracts. They're going to need to find somebody in training camp that can compete day one.
Look, maybe these unsigned or undrafted rookies hit.
And they very well could. They very well could. They could all be capable. But like it's not that it would be a nice to have. They need it to happen.
Yeah.
Like they need at least one of these players to hit.
Like if they're going to make the playoffs.
Correct.
I think they'll, like this starting lineup is good enough to make the playoffs. Absolutely.
I think so.
If they want to make any sort of playoff run, they need it.
And we didn't really talk about it, but like these players have zero chemistry with one another.
So far.
Yes. But what I think is so fascinating about them, if they were to end up as the 8th seed, I think they would be a very competitive playoff team. Very competitive, like sneaky, scary playoff team. You don't want to play Alyssa Thomas in a playoff series. Like, I don't care if she's the 8th seed and you're number 1. Like, I would be nervous. If Satou is the player that everyone talks about Satou being this season, then that would be pretty scary. And Kahleah Copper, if she takes a step forward, the 3 of them as a 3 is really nasty.
Yeah.
So like it might be a worse finish than they expect, but their goal is make the playoffs and we make noise in the playoffs. Plain and simple. Now they have more games too. They have more opportunities. It's not just, as quick as it was last year.
Right. 5-game series.
Correct. So even though we're down on them, Nate Tibbetts is going to have to figure out how to put it together and make a pretty picture and find a way just to win enough games to stay above the crowd, which, in a season which is going to be way more competitive than last season, at least we expect, it's going to be very interesting for the Phoenix Mercury.
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
No, I just think that this team has a lot to live up to.
A lot, too.
Like Kalani Brown, Sammy Whitcomb have a lot to live up to. I know the fans will not be upset. The fans who for the past 12 years have watched Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi
together.
Yeah.
And for how many years before that? 20 years they watched, at least Diana Taurasi. Like,
right.
It's a new generation.
It's a completely new generation, a completely new team. And we'll see where they go from here. And next year, it'll be completely different again.
Correct.
Because all these contracts will be different.
You said it. Anyway, that'll do it for our discussion of the Phoenix Mercury. If you are higher on the Phoenix Mercury, please send us an email and tell us why at attackthebaseline@gmail.com or connect with us on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod. Also, if you want to comment in the Spotify, feel free to do so. I will be there hearting your message, replying to your message, and letting you know what I think about your thoughts because I appreciate that. Yeah, excited. Looking forward to more games. And we'll get into all that soon. In a few days, we'll be talking about the Indiana Fever. So look forward to that. But Kristen, I am staring at the baseline. And what are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the baseline. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back so soon with more team compositions.
There are some things in life that just shouldn't be forgotten, like bringing your keys when you leave the house, setting your fantasy lineup, and most importantly, having Hidden Valley Ranch to watch the game. Especially if wings are on the menu. Those creamy, zesty Cool Ranch flavors take each spicy, savory bite to an unforgettable level. Hidden Valley Ranch, only serious about flavor.